So our next question could be framed in two ways. Write a short note on Darwin's theory of natural selection, or they can ask us, write in brief about Darwin's theory of natural selection. So we already know Darwin was an English scientist, a biologist to be more specific. He went on a series of islands, the Galapagos Islands, where he collected a lot of information about different varieties of plants and animals, and he published the book Origin of Species that preaches, that says a very important thing, survival of the fittest. That is what we mentioned in the first point. So Charles Darwin, an English biologist, published the theory of natural selection which preaches or says the survival of the fittest. Now according to Darwin, living organisms, they give birth or they reproduce prolifically, means to a large extent. They give birth at the same time to a large number of individuals. So according to him, all organisms reproduce prolifically. I'll repeat, prolifically means to a large extent. Let's understand this word over here, split it into parts, prolifically. So we can break it into 4 parts. Now when they reproduce prolifically, their numbers will increase. Now at some point what happens is the number of the organisms is more, but the resources available to them is less. So inevitably what happens, they compete with each other, they fight with each other in a life-threatening manner. Some of them might actually end up losing their lives in these different competitions. That's what we mentioned in the next point. These organisms compete with each other, and only those organisms who show the right appropriate modification, correct modifications, they sustain for longer, they remain alive. Right? These organisms that remain alive, they are able to pass on their DNA to the next generation. So natural selection also plays an important role because nature selects only those organisms which are fit to live and the rest perish. Nature obviously will select the fittest individual because the ones that are not fit will not be able to remain alive, hence they die, which means they perish. So their DNA never makes it to the next generation. The next generation will not show characteristics like these creatures who went extinct. Right? A very, very important process of natural selection, eliminating creatures that cannot adapt. So these sustained and selected organisms, they are able to reproduce. They are able to pass on their DNA to the next generation, and they give rise to new species that have their own specific characteristics. So this theory of Darwin has been accepted and we still study it till date, but there are a few objections that were raised for this theory. So this theory was widely accepted for a long duration. However, it has some objections, like he did not mention anything about useful or useless modification, slow abrupt changes. All these things are a few objections. Irrespective to that, the last point says that irrespective of all these objections, Darwin's work on evolution has been a milestone, right? It has contributed towards our understanding of different living organisms, and not only other organisms, our own selves, to a very large degree.